Axl Rose disappeared for years, and nobody knew where he went. But in 2025, at age 63, he walked onto the stage looking like a completely different person. Behind the gates of his $5 million Malibu mansion, he's been hiding something. Supercars worth millions, a recording studio no one talks about, and a past so dark it took therapists years to uncover. From threatening suicide on a wedding night to collapsing on stage in Buenos Aires, the man who once ruled rock and roll now lives in a world most fans will never see. William Bruce Rose Jr. was born on February 6, 1962, in a small hospital in Lafayette, Indiana. His mother, Sharon Lintner, was just 16, and his father, William Rose Sr., was 20, a troubled and charismatic local delinquent. The pregnancy wasn't planned, and Sharon was still in high school when she gave birth. Just 2 years later, in 1964, William Sr. simply vanished. No warning, no explanation. One day, he was there, and then he wasn't. Sharon never spoke his name again. Axl, at that time still a toddler, grew up not knowing his father existed. Sharon remarried quickly to Stephen Bailey, a strict Pentecostal preacher who adopted Axl and changed his name to William Bruce Bailey Jr. for the next 15 years. Axl would believe Stephen was his real father, but the truth was buried in a drawer. At age 17, Axl found some insurance papers in the house that listed a different last name, one he didn't recognize. It was the first time he ever saw Rose. The discovery hit like an earthquake. The man he called Dad wasn't his real father. His biological father had left him, lied to him, forgotten him. That moment cracked something inside of him, and it never fully healed. He would later say it was the beginning of a lifetime of not trusting anyone. But the damage had started even earlier. When Axl was just 2, his biological father kidnapped him. Axl was too young to understand why or how. But later, during therapy in his 30s, memories began to return. Not soft ones, not kind ones. He remembered a needle, a shot. He remembered being touched. He remembered watching something violent happen to his mother. His legs and muscles were damaged in ways doctors couldn't fully explain. It was all real. Court records from the 1960s confirmed it. Sharon had accused William Sr. of kidnapping and abuse. Axl's grandmother, when he asked her as an adult, told him the stories were true. He had been hurt badly before he could even speak. His stepfather, Stephen Bailey, was supposed to be a man of God, but his home was a prison. Starting in 1964, when Axl was 2, Bailey ruled the house with rules and belts. They went to church 3 to 8 times a week. At home, there were hours of forced Bible study. If Axl asked a question, he got whipped. If he looked at the wrong thing, he got whipped. Televisions came and went. Some weeks they were allowed. Other weeks, Bailey smashed them because he said they were satanic. Music was banned. Women were evil. Everything outside the church was evil. Bailey preached about love and morality, but behind closed doors, he was cruel. He beat the kids. He molested Axl's sister. He once locked her in a dog cage. It didn't feel like home. It felt like war. From a young age, Axl separated from who he was just to survive. He learned how to say the right things, how to stay small, how to disappear. But inside, he started to split. The abuse warped his sense of trust, of women, of safety. It made him angry. It made him confused. When he got older enough to find his voice, to sing, there was already too much inside him to keep still. At age 5, he joined the church choir. He had a beautiful voice. He performed with his siblings as the Bailey Trio, and people clapped like everything was fine. But behind the songs were secrets. Axl would later say the church was full of hypocrites and child abusers. When he questioned sermons, they made him fast for days. He was beaten while teaching Sunday school. He was praised for his voice and punished for having thoughts. Once, he said the first time he got slapped was for looking at a woman, and that moment stuck with him forever. In 1976, everything boiled over when he was 14. The insurance papers told him Stephen Bailey wasn't his real father, that William Rose Sr. had abandoned him. He lost control. He tore apart the family furniture in a rage. He screamed. He broke things. His mother called for help. They put him in a mental institution and prescribed lithium. Doctors called it manic behavior. Axl didn't believe them. He just said he felt things more than other people. But it was the first time the system labeled him, and it wouldn't be the last. He formed a band called Axl. By the time he was 15, they were playing Aerosmith and Nazareth covers in Lafayette's dirtiest dive bars. Axl was still a teenager on stage, surrounded by a crowd of drunk adults. The shows were loud, messy, aggressive. One night in 1978, a fight broke out. Axl hurled beer bottles at hecklers. Cops showed up. He got busted for public intoxication. That arrest wasn't his first, but also far from his last. Between 1977 and 1982, Axl would be arrested more than 20 times in Lafayette. The charges piled up: fights, drinking, disorderly conduct. It nearly got him expelled from high school. But he didn't care. Music was a way to let it all out, finally. In 1979, something happened that almost ended him. A family friend falsely accused him of rape after a party. There wasn't enough evidence, and charges were dropped, but the damage was done. Axl spiraled. He tried to kill himself with an overdose. He later said that was the moment he almost didn't make it. Former manager Doug Goldstein confirmed it happened. After that, Axl stopped leaving his room. He stopped talking. He considered running away for good. That same year, he dropped out of Jefferson High School, even though he'd scored in the top 3% on placement tests. He started working at a grocery store, stocking shelves, saving money. He had one plan: get out of Lafayette. He met Gina Saylor then, a 15-year-old girl who would become his first serious relationship. She introduced him to marijuana, then LSD. The first acid trip lasted an entire week. It left him paranoid, disoriented, shaking. Friends had to watch him for days, but he kept using. The relationship was violent, unstable, filled with jealousy and fights. The 6 years from 1980 to 1986 taught Shannon everything about love, fear, and control. He left on Christmas Eve in 1980. He was 18. He hitchhiked to Los Angeles with a guitar and $50. His friend Izzy Stradlin had gone there first, and Axl followed. He slept on skid row benches. He played on street corners for coins. One night, a store clerk chased him out of a 7-Eleven with a butcher knife because of the way he looked. Another night, a man took him and then tried to attack him. Axl fought back with a razor. He survived. He kept going. He would say that was when he really became a musician, after the world stripped away everything else and only the music remained. In June 1983, he formed Hollywood Rose with Izzy Stradlin and Chris Webber. They recorded 5 songs and played the Troubadour, but the band fell apart fast. Fights, arguments, members leaving. Rob Gardner quit over money issues. By 1984, Hollywood Rose was gone. Guns N' Roses played their first show at the Troubadour on March 26, 1985. The lineup kept changing. Old Beach got fired after one show. Tracy I. Guns quit after 2 months. But on June 4, 1985, the pieces finally locked in. Slash and Steven Adler joined. 2 days later, they hit the road for Seattle on what became known as the Hell Tour. Both vans broke down. They hitchhiked for 40 hours carrying only guitars. They missed shows, slept on floors, but they didn't stop. On March 26, 1986, exactly 1 year after their first show, Guns N' Roses signed with Geffen Records. The deal was worth about $250,000, with a $37,000 advance. Slash spent most of his share on heroin. No one wanted to manage them. They were too wild, too unstable. Tom Zutaut, the A&R guy who signed them, begged his friend Alan Niven to take them on. "This could be the end of my career," he said. But Niven agreed, and the band kept going. In January 1987, they began recording Appetite for Destruction at Rumbo Recorders. It took 2 weeks of nonstop work, finishing by March. The budget inflated to $370,000. Producer Mike Klink worked 18-hour days. Axl recorded his vocals one line at a time. It took over a month. One night, during Rocket Queen, Axl brought Steven Adler's girlfriend into the studio and recorded actual sex sounds. Adler was furious. Inside the band, tensions were growing, but the music was undeniable. On July 21, 1987, Appetite for Destruction came into the world without much fanfare. It finally reached number 182 on the Billboard 200, with hardly anyone noticing. Within a year, it reached number 1, powered by the explosion of Sweet Child, Oh Mine on MTV. The song was born from a poem Axl wrote for Erin Everly, the daughter of Don Everly. She wasn't just his muse, she was the center of his world. For a time, it seemed like she softened the rough edges of the most unpredictable frontman in rock. She even appeared in the video, standing beside him as the band played. But what seemed like love quickly turned dark. In 1994, Erin filed a lawsuit describing years of brutal abuse, being punched, kicked, dragged by the hair, struck with objects. On one night, after a beating, she woke up in a hospital bed with heroin and cocaine in her system. Her heart had stopped. She said she waited 3 years to come forward because she was too scared. It was a darker story than anyone could have imagined behind the song that took them to the top. A year after the album's release, on August 20th, 1988, the band played the Monsters of Rock Festival at Castle Donington in England. Over 107,000 fans packed the field. During Guns N' Roses' set, 2 young men were crushed to death in the crowd. Axl begged people to calm down, to stop the slam dancing, but the chaos swallowed them anyway. The press blamed the band, saying they refused to stop playing and that police had to intervene, but most of it was wrong. The truth was messy. Too many people, too little control. It didn't matter. From that point on, Guns N' Roses weren't just a rock band. They were the most dangerous band in the world. By 1989, Appetite for Destruction had sold more than 6 million copies in the US alone. That number would hit 18 million by 2008, and globally, it crossed 30 million, with 6.39 million in Europe and 2 million in Canada. But even before it hit the shelves, the album had already sparked outrage. The original cover art showed a robot attacking a woman, painted by